Before dawn on January 3rd, United States warplanes roared over Caracas. Within minutes, explosions hit air bases, command centers, and government compounds across northern Venezuela. By sunrise, President Nicolás Maduro had been seized by American Special Operations Forces and flown offshore. Hours later, he arrived in New York to face long-standing drug trafficking charges in federal court. President Donald Trump announced that the United States would now temporarily run Venezuela until a safe transition. The result is one of the most controversial American interventions in Latin America in decades. To understand why this happened, begin with Venezuela's long economic and political collapse under Maduro. Oil production shrank sharply, inflation soared, and millions of Venezuelans fled across borders seeking work and safety. Washington blamed Maduro's patronage networks and corruption, and imposed severe sanctions that deepened the economic crisis. In 2020, United States prosecutors indicted Maduro for narco-terrorism, accusing him of using cocaine trafficking as a tool of power. That indictment sat unresolved for years, while the United States recognized opposition figures as Venezuela's legitimate leaders. By late 2025, disputed Venezuelan elections and ongoing repression convinced many in Washington that peaceful change was stalled. Inside the Trump administration, advisors argued that Maduro's alleged drug role justified treating him like an international criminal kingpin. They also saw a strategic opportunity to weaken Chinese and Russian influence built through loans, arms sales, and oil deals. Trump publicly tied the operation to stopping drugs and restoring democracy, but often added references to controlling Venezuelan oil. Critics at home and abroad see a different mix of motives behind the decision to strike. They point to domestic politics, Trump's long-standing desire to remove Maduro, and frustration after years of ineffective sanctions. They also see echoes of earlier United States interventions that toppled leaders in Grenada and Panama, with mixed long-term results. Planning for Maduro's capture did not begin overnight, and relied on months of intelligence gathering and rehearsal. American agencies built a detailed picture of his pattern of life, tracking where he slept, ate, and traveled inside Caracas. A human source inside the Venezuelan government supplied updates on his schedule and security arrangements around key residences. In mid-2025, a small Central Intelligence Agency team quietly entered Venezuela to watch Maduro directly. They passed real-time information to United States Special Operations units training for a potential snatch mission. On American soil, the military constructed a full-scale replica of Maduro's compound, down to doors, walls, and safes. Delta Force operators and helicopter crews practiced fast entries, room clearing, and extraction again and again at that site. United States commanders also studied Venezuelan air defenses and prepared electronic warfare and cyber measures to blind them. All of this preparation pointed toward a fast raid that would grab Maduro before his forces could react. The execution began in the early hours of January 3rd, timed for Venezuela's night and Washington's pre-dawn. Cruise missiles and aircraft struck air bases, barracks, and key command nodes around Caracas and nearby regions. The targets included La Carlota Air Base, Fuerte Tiuna military complex, and facilities that housed fighter jets and helicopters. Strikes and sabotage cut electricity to wide areas of the capital, hampering communications and sowing confusion among defenders. At just after 2 in the morning local time, American helicopters swept into the capital's airspace at low altitude. They carried Delta Force operators and support teams toward a residence where intelligence indicated Maduro and his wife were sleeping. The helicopters took and returned fire as they approached, but quickly landed inside or just beside the targeted compound. Commandos breached doors and overwhelmed the presidential guard within minutes, according to officials describing the raid afterward. By about 4:30 in the morning, Maduro and his wife were aboard a helicopter headed toward waiting naval forces offshore. United States officials say no American troops were killed, though some were wounded, while an unknown number of Venezuelan personnel died. From the coast, the captured president was taken to the amphibious assault ship USS Iwo Jima in Caribbean waters. There, Drug Enforcement Administration agents and military interrogators began initial questioning and confirmation of his identity. Later that day, a military transport aircraft flew Maduro and his wife to Stewart Air National Guard Base in New York State. They were transferred into federal custody to face the outstanding narco-terrorism and cocaine importation conspiracy charges. United States law follows the Kerr-Frisbee doctrine, which allows courts to try defendants regardless of how they were captured. That means American judges are unlikely to see the manner of Maduro's seizure as a barrier to prosecution. For Venezuelans, however, the removal of a sitting president by foreign troops created an immediate constitutional and political crisis. Venezuela's Supreme Court rapidly invoked Article 233 of the Constitution, declaring a temporary presidential vacancy. It named Vice President Delcy Rodriguez as acting president, granting her formal authority over the executive branch. Trump quickly said Washington had contacted Rodriguez and that she had agreed to cooperate fully with United States plans. On Venezuelan state television, Rodriguez insisted Maduro remain the only legitimate president and called for calm and unity. Her position highlights a central ambiguity, because she depends on institutions shaped by Maduro, yet faces immense United States pressure. Within Venezuela, security forces, party officials, and regional leaders are now deciding whether to back Rodriguez, resist, or fracture. That choice will shape whether the country drifts toward negotiated transition, internal conflict, or some unstable combination. International reaction has been swift and sharply divided, reflecting the scale of the legal and political shock. The United Nations Secretary General called the intervention a dangerous precedent and an apparent violation of the United Nations Charter. The Security Council will meet on Monday to debate the strikes and the forced transfer of a sitting head of state. China, a major lender and partner in Venezuela's oil sector, condemned the action as an assault on its strategic interests. Russia voiced similar outrage and warned that normalizing such actions could justify future seizures of leaders anywhere. Many European governments expressed concern, but responded more cautiously, balancing criticism of Maduro with alliance ties to Washington. International law experts note there was no Security Council mandate and no Venezuelan attack that could justify self-defense claims. They argue that labeling the operation a law enforcement extraction cannot hide its reality as a large-scale military attack. Some draw parallels to the United States capture of Manuel Noriega in Panama and warn about long-term erosion of sovereignty norms. Inside the United States, the strikes and capture have triggered a fierce political and legal debate. Supporters of Trump praise the operation as long overdue justice against a brutal and illegitimate narco regime. They argue it will reduce cocaine flows, deter authoritarian leaders, and show that alliances with Washington's rivals carry risks. They also welcome the prospect of reshaping Venezuela's oil sector and reducing Chinese and Russian leverage over regional energy. Critics, including prominent Democrats and some Republicans, call the move unlawful, unwise, and lacking congressional authorization. They warn that occupying or effectively administering Venezuela could drag the United States into a costly and open-ended commitment. They also fear that other states will cite this precedent to justify their own interventions and leader seizures. Human rights organizations emphasize the risk to civilians from airstrikes and the danger of collective punishment through sanctions. In Venezuelan diaspora communities, reactions are deeply mixed, combining hatred of Maduro with anxiety about foreign domination. The question now is what happens next, both inside Venezuela and in the wider international system. Trump has said United States forces will oversee Venezuela only until a safe and proper transition occurs. Yet he has offered few specifics about timelines, governing structures, or the role of Venezuelan political actors beyond Rodriguez. One scenario involves a rapid handover to a transitional authority that includes opposition figures and segments of the current state. That path would require delicate negotiations, security guarantees, and credible promises about limiting foreign control of resources. Another scenario sees a fragmented security landscape, with loyalist units, armed colectivos, and criminal groups resisting United States presence. In that case, the mission could shift from a quick extraction and stabilization effort to a drawn-out counterinsurgency. Regionally, other Latin American governments must decide whether to isolate Caracas, mediate, or rally against United States dominance. Globally, the episode tests whether rules designed after the World Wars still constrain the actions of powerful states. If seizing a foreign leader through military force becomes accepted practice, the protection once enjoyed by heads of state weakens. That could encourage more aggressive behavior in future crises, from great powers and rising regional actors alike. For now, what is clear is that the January 3rd strikes have transformed Venezuela's crisis from a national tragedy into a geopolitical turning point. Want to learn more? Visit superlore.ai and create a custom episode on any topic you wish. Try it for free today and unleash your curiosity.